How's it going, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing another tier list ranking video. I did a video on the Ford Mustang last week, and I think I'm going to make a little bit of a series out of this. Also, today's video is going to be quicker because I already filmed this video and I'm an idiot and I deleted the footage from it. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of run through these. Now, you can see right here on the actual list that I just have everything in D tier. Again, I already kind of went through this, so it didn't let me like put the cars back like off the list, but just gonna give a quick breakdown here. So we've got the 300ZX Z32, and then we have what I believe is the 280Z. I mentioned this again already when I filmed it, but I think that this picture right here is the 280Z, and this one is the 240, simply because of the side mirrors on the front fenders. But if I'm incorrect, let me know down in the comments below. I'm kind of just basing it off of that, and I'm going to rank those cars differently, so my fault if I screwed up the pictures. And first up right here, we have the Z32 300ZX. Now this one is personally one of my favorite Z's ever created, if not my favorite. So it's definitely going to go probably between S tier and A tier. I know some people don't really like the 300ZXs in general, whether it's the Z31 or Z32. So because of that, I'll leave it down in A tier for now. But I really love this car, the twin turbo V6. It's a smaller car, still kind of has that old school look to it, kind of, but it's definitely more 90s feel on the overall design. Great performing car for its day, and I personally just really love this. I think that it's probably the coolest design Z's ever. It just looks so damn aggressive, and again, it's one of my personal favorites. Next up, we have the 280Z. Now, if any car is going to go in S tier, it's going to be this car. I'm from America. I believe these 280Zs were the first Zs that were introduced in America, and they were basically the best S chassis Z that Nissan or Datsun made. You had the 2.8 liter engine, so it was like the second bump up in displacement in the S chassis cars. I really do love the 240 because it's the first one, and if you've been subscribed to my channel, you know I do definitely like older cars rather than newer cars. And just, I mean, they're the ones that kind of like really started all, and then all the newer cars are based off of them. Now the 280 didn't have much different design features when it just came to like the body or whatever, but it was just a better performing Z on the track, and it was the, again, first Z introduced to like kind of like the North American market. And this is also when the creators of the Z really found out its performance potential. I feel like the 240, which we'll get to in a bit, was just more of, I don't know if it really had much of a identity, like a actual defined identity. It was kind of like a commuting car that could be like a weekend warrior car, whereas the 280Z was an absolute sports car. They made it to be a sports car, and every Z since then has been a quote-unquote sports car. Now, moving right along, we have the Z31 300ZX, and even though I absolutely love the Z32, again, it's one of my favorite Z's ever. The Z31 is my least favorite, by far. I think it's the ugliest Z ever made. I know that in my previous ranking video, where I went ahead and ranked all the different generations, it was absolute last, and I think someone actually commented on it from Australia, and they said that they had a edition of the Z, or a year of the Z, that was even uglier than the Z31, but it's definitely the worst one on this list if we're just going by kind of like generational rankings here. So I'm definitely leaving that down here in D tier. Again, I don't really hate it. I don't hate any of the Zs, but it's almost like the Mustang 2 of the Nissan Zs. It's just, it's not that great. So moving on, we do have the 350Z. Now, I really don't like this Z as well because it's the first Z to introduce that like weird bubbly design. Now, growing up in the early 2000s, seeing Tokyo Drift and all that, like, you know, it's definitely a popular car. A lot of people have it. It's very obtainable. You see it in car meets all the time. It's not bad. I did a review when I kind of first started out the channel on an orange 350Z that looks just like the one in this picture. but it's not that great, and I personally really do not like the design with the 350 and the 370Zs. So for that, I'm probably gonna just leave it down in D tier for now. It could definitely go into C tier, I guess. I know some people really do like the 350Zs, but because of that, I'm just gonna leave that down in the D tier. Now, moving on, we have a very interesting choice here, because if you were to ask me where this new Nissan Z would wind up a couple years ago, I would probably put it up in A tier, maybe even S tier too. I love the modern retro design that Nissan went with this. I love the fact that they went ahead and actually made everything in the car themselves. Because when Toyota brought back the Supra, they got a lot of negative feedback because pretty much the whole drivetrain underneath was BMW, whereas Nissan kind of just designed this completely themselves. On top of that, the car originally came with a manual, but since then, Toyota has kind of answered back and has made the new Mark V Supra available with a manual transmission as well. Now, on top of that, a lot of comparison videos have already come out with the new Z versus the Mark V Supra, and I have to say the new Z has kind of been a little bit disappointing when it comes to like some of those performance numbers, considering that it makes more power than the Mark V Supra off the factory line. But the Supra has proven to be a little bit more of a tunable platform, and on top of that, it is lighter than the Z. The Z is kind of heavy, so you know, it's definitely beaten it out in a lot of categories, but I'm still a big Nissan Z fan, or like the new Z. I know it's just called the Z, which is kind of stupid. With the new twin-turbo V6 that's in it, on top of that, again, it being offered in manual and having the limited slip differential in the rear, it's a great car. Unfortunately, I have not gotten my hands on one quite yet to do a review on the channel, but I can only imagine that it's probably really fun to drive. But because of that, because of all those things that I mentioned, and with the Supra and everything, I'm probably going to leave it in B tier for now, just because it kind of, again, let down a lot of people with those performance numbers. I love the fact that Nissan went with the modern retro design and brought back that S chassis silhouette that everyone loves. And on top of that, with the 300ZX kind of inspired taillights, it's a perfect kind of conglomerate of all the different generations put into a modern car. And I cannot state this enough. It's amazing that Nissan went ahead and completely scrapped the bubbly design that we saw with the 350s and 370s. But anyways, I spent enough time just focusing on the new Z. Moving on, we have the 240Z. Again, I don't know just from this little tiny picture alone whether this is the 240 and this is the 280 or vice versa, but I believe this is the 240. And if it is the 240, I'm probably going to put it up in either B or C tier. Yes, it's the car that started everything. Yes, it's a great platform to do a restoration on, or even like a resto mod. Mighty Car Mods back in the day, I don't know how many years ago now, they put the RB26 in one, I believe. So it's a great car. I would love to own one in the future. S chassis, like, how can you hate on S chassis? I don't want to rank it too low, but again, for the reasons I stated before, where I just feel like the 280 established more of the identity of the Z brand versus the 240, I'm probably just gonna like leave it in B. I could put it down in C, but I feel like that's just disrespectful. But now, rounding everything off, we have the 370Z or the Z34. Again, I really don't hate this car. Like, I really do like this car, and I'm not just going to put it in C tier just because we have an empty tier here. But to me, it's like the perfect C tier car because it performed great. It was tunable. Yes, the interior was extremely dated for the time it came out. Now, when you add on top of that, the, like, I don't know, decade that it just basically stayed the same and nothing was updated at all, for the most part, it's the perfect definition of a car that just overstayed its welcome. And for me, it was a great refresh when Nissan came out with the new Z and got rid of the 370Z, because again, up until like a few years ago, they were still producing these 370Zs, and they were introduced in like the 2000s. So it was a little bit ridiculous of a run. I think Nissan should have updated it way sooner than they wound up doing, and because of that, it kind of left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouth. I do, again, really like it. I love the fact that they went with a little bit of a more aggressive styling on the overall body design, with more aggressive, you know, taillights and headlights with kind of like that arc in there, creating like a V design almost. But to me, these bubbly Nissans, both the 350 and 370s, when you look at all the other generations kind of combined, to me, they just don't say Z. I mean, hell, even the Z31, which I still think is the ugliest Z ever made, still looks like a Nissan Z versus the 350 and 370 in my eyes. But anyways, that's pretty much just going to be it for the video. Again, here is my final kind of like tier list ranking. I'm thinking about making a series about this, just going through different models or whatever you guys think of. Just like let me know down in the comments below. I would love to hear some like ideas. Going back to a new posting schedule now, so I'm trying to pump out as much videos as possible. We're going to stick to the 3 kind of video a week schedule I have going on right now, plus daily shorts, daily like community posts, stuff like that. So if you're new here, definitely feel free to leave a like down below, subscribe for daily kind of new automotive content, and it does help me out a ton as a smaller car channel here on YouTube. But anyways, that is pretty much just going to be it. Like always, I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.